guys, and welcome to The More You Know from the Geek Girls Academy. I'm Jana S. Brown, and I'm here today with CJ and Naya, the ever amazing, wondrous, curly haired. I can come up with a whole lot of adjectives here, and it would be fun. But hi, CJ.
I feel like I need to do a Miss America wave.
Yes, there you go. What is it?
Gotcha.
Elbow, elbow, wrist, wrist, touch the pearls. I'm too good.
Yes, something like that,
Oh, gosh,
which is
that's
too
been a
much
long day.
coordination for me. I'd never nail it, so it's not going to work for me.
Welcome, guys. Today we are going to talk for just a couple of minutes about a subject that we've touched on in a couple of other videos, but here we're going to focus on it. And this is about critique groups. So we have talked about how it can be really helpful to your editing and to your writing progress to have critique partners or critique groups, also known as writing groups, whatever it is you want to call them, but groups where you're bringing your writing, people are reading it, and they're giving you feedback. And one of the pros and cons with getting feedback from other people is that very often the feedback comes in formats that are on either side of the scale. On the one side, you get the feedback that says, I laughed, I cried, it was better than cats, it was the best thing ever, and there's nothing wrong with it, and you're lovely. This usually comes from your mother or somebody else who loves you and doesn't want to sleep on the couch. Then on the other side, you get people who go, this was wrong and that was wrong. You don't know how to spell and that's which breaks writers' hearts and makes them not want to write anymore because if nothing in the entire manuscript was good, now they are sad. Okay. And so we wanted to talk about some of the skills that you could bring as a critique partner that you could teach to your critique group so that it is neither too fluffy nor too harsh, but that the critique that you're getting is something that's actually going to be usable and uplifting so that you can move forward and you can do really well with your writing. So, CJ, have you ever been in a critique group? Have you ever encountered this? And what was your
Indeed.
favorite way of, having a good critique?
So the formula that we utilized for a critique session was if you're going to give critiques, you also need to give what's working. So you start off with one thing that's working, and then you start off, and then the next thing is, what isn't working and why. And then the third thing is a follow-up of another thing that is working. So obviously the two things that are working are not what you have to be worried about when it comes to your delivery. It's the what's not working and why. And in order to avoid fluffiness, you really do need to explain why. Be specific and be kind as you share it. Because and this is all not only about sharing it, but receiving it. When you are receiving constructive criticism, keep an open mind out, recognize that this is not a personal attack on you, even though it takes some time and some hardening and toughening of the skin to get to that point. It's not a personal attack on you. This critique group is trying to assist you in getting better as a writer. And so the point is to identify flaws that are all about fundamental issues with craft. So you are not attacking the person. You are not even attacking the flaw. You are simply mentioning an oopsie, and here's why. So, oops, we did this, but here's a suggestion as to how you could fix it. Also, explaining why it doesn't work is helpful, because if I had someone say to me, I don't like your character, they're not relatable, and left it at that, I would have been offended because that I put a little bit of me in there. But also I would have been like, well, why are they not relatable? Why is being relatable important at this? Like, there would have been questions. And so it's all about giving specifics and explanations in a kind way. Now, there are some groups, like some harsh groups, that are not like that. There was actually a writing group that I knew of where they prided themselves on how hard they could zing you and how well you took it. And that group was fierce and beastly in all ways imaginable, and they thrived on it. And so I was like, that's not for me. That group's not for me. So, to each his own and all of that good stuff. But really it's all about not attacking and trolling. Like, you need to have sound constructive criticism rather than I hated it and this was the worst thing I've ever read in my life. That helps no one. No one, I say. Thoughts, Jenna?
Yep, right along those lines. Just understand that you're always there to be helpful. You are not there to tear them down or to tear the work apart, but you do need to stop when it's something that hits you and say, was this what you meant to do? Because sometimes the reaction you're having is exactly the reaction the author wants. I hit this once where I was critiquing for somebody, and we got about halfway through their book, and I stopped and I said, I really, really hate this guy. But I think he's supposed to be the love interest. I hate him because of these behaviors. Do you want me to feel that way? And they went, yes, it's perfect because it's a bait and switch and it's all part of this big mystery. He's only pretending to be the love interest. And so you're picking up on the subtle clues that tell you that by this point, something is not right there. And so we talk about things that could be put in so that foreshadowing was a little bit stronger, but they had got me to the right place. It's just now we needed a few things so it wasn't a confusing right place. So sometimes that is really what the author intends. And so you need to remember that you are not trying to retell their story the way you would tell it. You're trying to help them to figure out the fundamental things that might be going wrong. That is the way that they want to tell it, that gets the message across they want, the characters that they want. This becomes particularly important when it is something that is maybe a your personality thing. I was in a critique group once where I got a fairly decent rant back from somebody because a sub character came out as bisexual and in that section of the story. And she was very offended that this alternate sexuality had been brought into the story at all because she felt like knowing that I was a religious person, it was not appropriate for me to write about that. And it was like, okay, first of all, we didn't go into any detail to where I thought it was actually problematic. And second of all, you don't get to decide what I think is appropriate to write about. And this may mean in some groups you may have to put up some rules. Because, for example, if you want to be in a critique group for clean and wholesome romance, you need to make that really, really clear so you don't get somebody who loves writing steamy come in and give you something where you all go, because it's not that the steamy is wrong, it's just a mismatch for your group. And so for me, that told me that we had a big mismatch there. And as a group, we had to have a discussion to say, are these subjects that are going to be taboo? And if they are, um, do I belong here or not? Because they're things that I talk about in my manuscripts because I talk about real people and real people come with lots and lots of different makeup. And so that's important things to have in your critique group is to know those things exist so that when a critique comes up, it's not being given based on those kinds of gut instincts that go, oh, well, but I feel very strongly about this subject, not the way you've written it, but about this subject altogether. Okay. And that just happens with people. So you may have to try more than one critique group. You may find that an entire group is too overwhelming and you end up having one critique partner who might be another author, and then the two of you just exchange things. And that's okay too. So feel free to look for those things because that's going to give you what it is that you need. Again, the point of having a critique is that somebody who is not you looks at the manuscript and gives you feedback so that you can fix problems before you take it to a developmental editor, before you take it to a stage where you're going to have to start paying for it, or where you're putting it in front of an agent or an editor that you're hoping will acquire it for traditional publishing. It's all about making really, really shiny manuscripts before they get out into the public so that you can get the very best reception possible. Anything else we want to add, CJ?
Nope, that was perfect.
Fantastic. All right, guys, well, get your pencils out and get writing, and we'll see you again next week with another The More You Know. Bye bye.
Okay.